This is Roots Part 2. I wanted to make sure I had the dates right. For Philip Christian Enders, he was born July 22nd, 1740 in Nassau, Germany, and he died February 26th, 1809 in Enders, Pennsylvania. He married his bride, Anna, who was born on January 12th, 1746 in Nassau, Germany, and she died in 1796 in Enders, PA. I've been to Enders, PA many times for family reunions who have put together volumes and volumes of books of all the thousands of descendants from those two people, and the parties for the kids and all the things that have been going on for the Enders and the family. I have two children, 1, 7, 5, 9, 11, 1, 3, 1 is Adam, and 1, 7, 5, 9, 11, 1, 3, 2 is Karina. My sister has one son, Richard Andrew Weitzel. His number is 175 911 121. Anyways, I think it's all very interesting how we come from faraway lands and moved here. And then I was reading about, now that I'm in Tennessee, about that Appalachian dialect, which is the original American English, and some of the colloquialisms. And even though I was born in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, which is close enough, it's actually in the Cumberland Valley of the Appalachian Mountains, which is where the Blue Mountains are of Pennsylvania. But a lot of those colloquial words came from the Enders family and my grandma. About some of it also had a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch influence because these were from Germany. About your hair being strubbly and you read up the house. And it was interesting when I was down here in Tennessee, they were talking about some of the Appalachian speeches and such that went on, and how I was familiar with all of them because of being in the mountains, even though it was the valley, but being in the Appalachian Mountains in Pennsylvania. And as I mentioned before, my sister's son has deep roots as well. And the Cumberland Valley is where my mother loved, even though she was born in York County, Pennsylvania, she loved the Cumberland Valley, which is where we lived, and that was where Harrisburg, Mechanicsburg, Carlisle, Shippensburg, and Chambersburg was all in that route of the westward expansion. Those cities were the right distance apart for a day's travel back in the day when you traveled by horse. And then we ended up going further south to the Shenandoah Valley and the Skyline Drive, and Karina went to college at Bridgewater College, which is in the valley again, but along the mountains of Appalachia. So it's interesting how we end up in such similar things. And even Robert's side of the family, when I was looking at street addresses, we lived at many places in York City, Pennsylvania, but the area where we moved to, where we raised our kids in our big 3-bedroom rancher for the largest portion of our life, was at 981 East Canal Road. Robert's brother lives at 600 East Canal Road, and his aunt lives at 545 East Canal Road. We are on the west side of Bull Road, which puts us in Dover, so we had a Dover zip code at 981 East Canal Road, Dover, Pennsylvania, whereas his brother and aunt are on the York side, so they were York of East Canal Road. And then when I was a kid, my dad's business was at 5222 East Trindle Road, Mechanicsburg. And then he had an apartment house which he built, which was 4827 East Trindle Road. So I find it all interesting that you stay on some of these main roads and the numbers, families end up together on the same streets even. It's very interesting to me. One other thing I want to say about Mechanicsburg is they had a wonderful memorial park, it was called, and it was a city park, and they had a city pool, and they had that's where the Mechanicsburg High School football games were held, and I was in the band, and I loved all the football games, and I loved going to that pool. We would ride our bikes from Allendale Road the whole way up through town and spend the day at the pool and the snack bar, and then ride our bikes home when it was time to come home at the end of the day. Come home in time for dinner, and then we play kickball out in the center part of the street between the houses where Rhonda lived and I lived. So anyways, that's part 2 of the roots being from Germany, the original Appalachian dialect, and how we end up on similar street names. Maybe there are no coincidences. Signing off, December 16th, 2024.